Thank you so much for joining us again tonight. At this time, let's give everybody a round of applause. Can we give our city council candidates one round of applause for joining us? We really appreciate their time. And then at this time, we want to welcome our candidates for Superior Court Division 7. We have Judge Kenneth Gregory and Prosecutor Jeffrey B. Haas to share a brief introduction this evening. Our judicial candidates will be introducing themselves only and will not be taking questions during the forum, but they will have booths up in the hallway again after this. Judge Gregory was required to attend a conference today, so we're going to start with a representative from his office to read his introduction. Please welcome Attorney Tashura Elias to read his statement. Thank you.
Thank you. Unfortunately, Judge Gregory is at a judicial conference in Tucson. I am honored to be here to speak on his behalf. I'm his former law partner, and in case you were wondering, this is what he looks like. I believe it is the foremost responsibility of judges, and for that matter, any public servant, to inspire and bring out the best in people, to set the example of decency and respect, civility in the course of our dealings with others despite our various differences of opinions. The people have a right to expect courts and judges to set these examples as they serve the truth and justice in our legal system. As a judge, I understand that the rights of free people are not to be eroded, and I will always protect and defend our founding principles. I have served as an appointed judge to the Superior Court for the past 8 years, and during that time I've handled thousands of cases across a diverse docket. I've established myself as a leader on the bench who will thoughtfully approach his work. I'd be honored to continue to serve as Superior Court Judge and for your vote to Division 7 in the upcoming Republican primary. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Elias. And now we'd like to welcome Prosecutor Jeffrey B. Haas to the stage for his introduction.
Thank you. My name is Jeffrey B. Haas. I grew up here in Mojave County. I graduated from Kingman High School. I always had in the back of my mind I wanted to be a lawyer. I just didn't think it was something that a kid from Mojave County could do. I started painting houses out of high school, and eventually I worked my way through undergraduate, and then a law degree down at U of A in Tucson. While I was at U of A, I clerked for the Executive Office of Immigration Review for 2 judges, immigration judges. I learned that ethics are the most important thing that judicial and legal officers can do. I've earned a reputation as the expert on ethics. Even people outside my office, when they have issues, concerns about ethics, they often come to me to help them work through those issues. Because if we can't trust our judges to do the right thing, we don't have a justice system. I've seen too many times when judges just outright refuse to follow the law when I'm practicing in front of them. I'm going to show them what the law is. They will read it. They say, I know that's the law, Mr. Haas, I'm not going to follow it. And that's not acceptable. People in Mojave County deserve to have judges who will follow the law whether the judge likes it or not. It's not the judge's job to make the law. That's the legislature's job. The judge's job is to follow it. I will do that because I love the Constitution, I love the law. I volunteer in my Rotary group in Kingman. I volunteer, I'm the president of the Board of Trustees of the Mojave County Historical Society. We run 3 museums in Kingman. And I'm also the coach of a constitutional literacy project, moot court team that does Supreme Court oral arguments at a high school in Kingman, because I want to instill in the rising generation the love for the Constitution that I have developed. If you vote for me, if you will entrust me with Division 7 after Judge Member retires, I can promise you that I will always follow the law, even whether I like it or not. You will get justice. If you don't like it, you talk to your legislature. But as a judge, I will follow the law. I hope to instill in the rising generation that love for the Constitution and the law as well. This is my community. I grew up here, raising my 4 kids here. I believe in consequences. I'm the only candidate who has both criminal and civil trial experience. I'm a hard-nosed prosecutor. I've got a reputation as a tough prosecutor. Defense attorneys respect me. They don't always like me. But it's because I follow the law. I'm always just. If there's not evidence in the case, I have no problem dismissing it as a prosecutor. I don't railroad people. It's not acceptable. But I do treat them fairly, and I do treat them equally. do that as a prosecutor. I will continue to do that as a judge. Thank you. I hope you'll vote for me, Jeffrey B. Hawes, for Mojave County Superior Court Judge, Division 7.
Thank you to both of you. We really appreciate your time and representation today. So at this time, we want to thank our judicial candidates and welcome our LD30 candidates to stage. So if you are an LD30 candidate, please go ahead and rise and join us on stage. Tonight we welcome 5 candidates for the Arizona State Legislative District 30. We welcome David Rose, Grace Hecht, Mike Ganuccio, Catherine Lopez Rajamini, and Caroline Strecker. Can we give them a big round, please? Do we have David Rose in the audience? Okay. Why don't you get started? I'm going to see if he's in the hallway. Oh, there we
We're going to
go.
get started
David Rose.
with introductions. So we'll start with Caroline Strecker, and by the time we get to David Rose, he should be on stage.
Perfect.
60 seconds.
Well, thank you to Havasu News and KMTR for hosting us and welcoming us. My name is Caroline Strecker, and I've been a resident of Mojave County for nearly 20 years. I do have a family legacy here throughout La Paz and Mojave County. My father was a local physician. He was an emergency room provider, and I myself to this day, I am a registered nurse and also a board certified family nurse practitioner as well. I work at the local community hospitals, and I also work here in Las Vegas as well. I've worked for Bullhead Fire. I was a critical care transport nurse, and then I worked for CareFlight as well. I'm an educator. I am an instructor at Mojave College. To me, it will always be Mojave Community College, where I obtained my associates in nursing. I then applied and was accepted to Georgetown University for my master's. I decided to leave though, because they had too much DEI. My priorities are the budget, water, resources, including excellence in healthcare and education as well. I'm Caroline Strecker.
Okay, David Rose, 60 seconds.
Good evening. Thank you for being here. My name is David Rose, and I have the great honor of currently serving as the president of the Lake Havasu Unified School District, where we were able to lead our district to be the first in the nation to ban DEI in curriculum and in hiring practices. We were also able to partner with our current representative, Leo Biasucci, and be one of the first districts in the nation to ban harsh chemicals in food dyes and school lunches, putting kids' health first. We also discovered $26 million of unused funds, and we took those funds and redirected them back to the classroom and gave our teachers the largest raise they've ever seen in the history of the district, putting classrooms first again. I've been endorsed by our current representative, John Gillette, to replace him in the Arizona House. I'm honored to have his endorsement. I'm also been endorsed by Turning Point USA, and I'm looking forward to earning your endorsement on Election Day and being your next state representative. My name is David Rose. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. My name is Grace Hecht. I'm born and raised right here in Mojave County from Bullhead City. My family has been here for 250 years on both sides from the Revolutionary War. I'm a proud member of the Daughters of the American Revolution. Being in politics is not about politics. It's about a legacy that I can leave for our country and for my children. I was a missionary for 10 years overseas. I graduated from Calvary Chapel Bible College, and I've been to over 30 different countries. I will hold the line against communism and socialism, literally knocking at our back door at the state level. I founded a nonprofit in our community called Make Bullhead Better, and we now have 35,000 followers and are able to do incredible things in our community with no government funding. I'm endorsed by our current Senator Hildy Angus, as well as our former House Representative Regina Cobb, and your Vice Mayor David Diaz. My name is Grace Hecht, and I'm looking forward to earning your vote.
Mike Ganuccio.
Good evening. Good evening. Thank you for being here. My name is Mike Ganuccio. I'm a 26-year resident in Mojave County. When I retired from the sheriff's office, I started a ranch. My wife and myself have a farm in Parker and run about 36,000 acres of Angus cattle in this district. I'm passionate about what I do. I was elected as president of Arizona Cattle Growers Association about 5 years ago, to which I'm retired now. During my 2 terms, I worked as a volunteer in legislature to try and better my community in the ranching industry. I've worked on water. I've helped our representatives here in Mojave County when the great state of Maricopa was trying to take our water and float it into Parker and take it into Maricopa. We gotta stop on it. I'd really like your support to continue my fight in legislature. I look forward to it. So on July 21st, please vote Mike Canuccio. Thank you.
Catherine Lopez Rajanimi.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Catherine Lopez Rajanimi. I'm born American, conservative by choice, and I am Republican. I have been living in Mojave County now. This is my 49th year. This is my home, which is why I'm running. I have 2 beautiful daughters my husband and I have raised here in Mojave County. We are both small business owners, which is why I am running. I believe that we deserve a strong economy. I have been giving back to this community before this campaign started with Mojave County 4-H. I sat on our local fire board for 10 years. I've been part of the Bullhead Area Chamber of Commerce, and I sat on their board for 10 years. Again, I know the reason for a strong economy, which is why I'm running. And that's why I'm here today. I'm running on my own merits. Nobody has asked me to run. I am here because this is my home of 49 years, almost 50 years, and I am a small business owner, and that is why I am here today, asking you guys for your vote. Again, I'm Catherine Lopez Rajanimi, the longest name on the ballot. Thank you.
Okay, we did 60 seconds for the intros. We're doing 45 seconds for the questions. So we will start with David Rose, go that way, and come back to Caroline Strecker. So for David Rose, water and sustainability. What policies would you support to ensure reliable water resources for Western Arizona?
It's a great question. So first of all, we might need to stop sending our water to Maricopa County. That is one of our biggest issues in rural Arizona. Is Maricopa County has the largest part of the conversation when it comes to water, and we need to start fighting back. And I'm ready to do that. Our current representatives have been in that fight, and I'm ready to continue that fight to represent our district when it comes to water policy and fighting for what belongs to us. And also when it comes to water infrastructure, it's extremely important. Whenever we travel throughout the district, La Paz County, they are struggling with infrastructure for water. And so it's time to start allocating funding for those things that may not be popular, but they're extremely important to the future of rural Arizona.
Thank you. Water is the absolute most important topic, and groundwater management needs to be local. I was on the city council in Bullhead for 3 years, and over you will hear me say tonight that local control is the most important thing. If we had rural groundwater management in Kingman and La Paz, places where people could have a say about where our water goes, that would make a huge difference. In Lake Havasu, in Lake Havasu, you have a Colorado River entitlement of 28,581 acre feet. We need to protect that water, and if you send me to the state capitol, I will. I'm endorsed by La Paz County Supervisor Holly Irwin, as well as Regina Kopp, who have both been working for almost 2 decades to secure our water.
Water is our most precious commodity. If you send me to the legislature, I will continue that fight. The hardest thing that I'll push for, that nobody wants to talk about, I will work to try and make Maricopa put in a desalination plant. It's going to happen at one point or another. If we can get them to do it now, they'll stop trying to take our water from up here. We need to keep them off the river. The new federal laws that are already going to reallocate the water coming off the river, Havasu, Mojave, and Parker should all be fine with their water allocations. Everybody's going to take a cut, but it's time to act right now and get them to stop trying to pull water out of the straw and just take it out of the ocean, desalinate it, and fix their issues there so they'll leave us alone.
I just want to remind the candidates, keep the mic close to your mouth. Thank you.
So water is so important. That is one of the reasons why I'm running. I know we need water to survive. As Mark Twain wrote, whiskey's for drinking and waters for fighting. And my family knows I will fight for whatever I have to fight for, because that's what I do. And so we have to make sure we do not lose any more water. We have to also make sure we do water conservation. We need more water conservation in our area. I have not seen that being done, and I know we can do more, like making sure we do retention, flood control with retention. That is so important. And there's other forms of water conservation we can be proactive in. I have talked to Congressman Gosar regarding desalinizations. We need to also look at other ways of getting water sources here. Thank you.
Caroline Springer.
So water is very multi-layered and complex, and at the state legislature, we really need to be ensuring that we're getting water studies that are done throughout LD30 legislative district. I am against active water management designation. I do agree that it needs to be a locally controlled issue. We have multiple different basins that we don't even know what's below. We have some info, but from the state legislative point, we don't have a tangible report. We have a lot of words such as projections, estimations, but in layman's terms, this is essentially the best guess. So at the state legislative level, we need to ensure that we're having the appropriate water studies done on a hydrological aspect, and so that we, as wherever we live, whether it's Wallapai Basin, Sacramento, the Mojave Basin as well, that we know how much water we have.
Okay. We're going to move on to question 2. We'll start with Grace Hecht. And the question relates to affordability in the state budget. As Arizona faces continued pressure over affordability, should the state prioritize tax cuts, continued public investment, or some combination of both? 60 seconds.
So I think I'm going to go a little bit a different way on the state budget. I think that state tax cuts, once again, this still just comes back to a local control issue. So the state budget has not been passed on time since 2015. Like, they haven't sine-died, which means ending the budget process since 2015. That pushes everything back. Yesterday I went to Kingman and I went to their state trooper building. And when the state legislators don't get out on time with 100 days, it pushes everything back for all of the departments underneath them. That is something that would save us so much money. So that is a big priority of ending at 100 days.
Mike Canusio?
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. As Arizona faces continued pressure over affordability, should the state prioritize tax cuts, continued public investment, or some combination of both?
Yes. Look, everybody works harder to pass the budget. And like Ray said, it takes too long to do it. We need a Doe-style audit through the state. I think there's more money than there really is. We need to make sure there's no fraud, waste, and abuse and get it done. Other than that, our job is going to be to just get as much money out of the budget that we can get for our district to make sure that Havasu's infrastructure can be stronger along with everywhere else in the district.
Thank you. Catherine Lopez Rajanimi?
Yes, can you please repeat the last part? I got the first part.
As Arizona faces continued pressure over affordability, should the state prioritize tax cuts, continued public investment, or some combination of both?
It would have to be a combination of both. We are always fighting for our fair share here. Being in rural Arizona, it's something that we're constantly doing. Tax cuts would be amazing. We don't want any more new taxes. I can't afford it being a small business owner. I do not want to see that happen to any of us. No more new taxes. We need to cut taxes. A lot of us are on set incomes, and it's getting harder and harder with our set incomes. We have to look at every direction. Local government. That's why we vote in our local government. We need to, as state representatives, we need to work with our local government that you guys have voted in, and going hand in hand and making sure we get what we need here in our district.
Caroline Stricker.
So the fact of the matter is that when Governor Hobbs came in to be our elected official, she had a surplus from the state legislative budget. And in that time, and since COVID, she's spent in a deficit, including over $122 million that is missing in likely fraudulent COVID-funded reliefs, and I know I worked the COVID pandemic, and with irresponsible spending, including such as her pet projects like this $500 million for Chase Field. I mean, I love baseball, but why are we, as the taxpayers, spending this? So really, when it comes to tax cuts and public reinvestment, I think that we have the revenue. We just need to make sure that we have representatives who are spending it appropriately.
David Rose.
So the legislature just made Arizona the first in the nation as a state to implement President Trump's tax cuts on the state level. And so we're very thankful for that. But to go what Caroline said, we must make right investments and cut back taxes, not just for the voters and residents that live here and are taxpayers, but for our business owners so that they can afford to pay wages to their employees and stop paying crazy amount of taxes. So I'm all for tax cuts and making the right investments into our community and making sure that rural Arizona is represented in that conversation and not just watching investments go into Maricopa County. And on the last part, we need a Republican governor that can make that happen. Whenever we've got fraud, waste, and abuse that is happening and Katie Hobbs' excessive amount of spending, that's part of the problem. We need to get it under control, and Arizona would be just fine.
This next question involves rural representation and state funding. We'll start with Mike Minuccio. What would you do to ensure Western Arizona communities receive fair consideration in state funding for essential services?
So it's the representative's job to get with all of the local communities, the mayor, the county's board of supervisors, and see what they need. It's my job at that point to see what money we can get out of budget to take care of those issues from EDOT up. My pledge is that I will do everything that I can do to make sure every individual community gets their fair shake. All projects are looked over, prioritized in fashion that's needed. That's it. I'll work my butt off for you guys.
Councilman Lopez Revenue.
Can you, one more time, please? Sorry.
What would you do to ensure Western Arizona communities receive fair consideration in state funding for essential services?
Make sure we fight. That's what we do in rural Arizona, is we are constantly fighting. I don't know how much more to stress that. Being on the fire district for 10 years, we have issues in emergency services. We are not getting funded enough for emergency services. All of us at one point, whether it's us or a loved one, needs that. And if we on a state level do not work with our local governments and with our emergency services, we're going to run out of money. The cost in the inflation continues to rise. When I started on the fire board, a fire truck was $600,000, now it's $1 million. We have to work on the state level. Like I said, the only thing I can do is fight for rural Arizona.
So I actually live in an unincorporated, so I live outside of the city limits. And as a state representative, I don't believe that one policy fits all across the board. So I don't pretend to know everything that's happening in Pinal, Pima County, Yavapai. I think that each of the counties, they know what's happening in their own districts, and that they ultimately should have control of how they're going to allocate their funding when it comes across from the state fund and then to the county funding as well. And it's really important just to advocate, here in LD 30, we have Yavapai, a sliver of Maricopa, Mojave, and La Paz as well, and really just communicating with all of our local officials to advocate for what services that they want and need.
David Rose.
So first, it's about relationships with your local government. So I will be having regular conversations and meetings with the mayor of every community that we serve in town, and making sure that we are prioritizing the needs over wants. That is extremely important. And our current legislators have been doing that. They've been bringing funding back to the district, and I want to be able to continue to do that. Number two, we have to have a team that can work together. We've had an amazing team with Representative Biasucci and Gillette and Senator Angus in the House, and you have to have a team that's going to sit down together, be able to work together, and prioritize the needs of the district. And number three is start putting funding. Right now, Earth Funds is extremely underfunded, and I want to work with Councilwoman Campbell, who serves on the Rural Transportation Department, and fix that. That is how we fix rural roads and bring funding back to the district.
Grace Hecht.
Yes. So I'm going to echo exactly what David said, is that this is a relationships job. When you get up here, a big part of what you do as a legislator is work with local city councils. I've been endorsed by over 14 locally elected people in our district, and as Caroline said, our district is huge. The way that we get to know what the issues are by going and meeting with all of these people. I've put 16,000 miles on my car since February and gone to all of these different meetings and met with these people. Having a team, that's why being endorsed by Senator Hildy Angus and different people, being endorsed by the leaders that are already up there, it is so important when you go up there to be on the same team, because there's only 3 of us up there.
We're going to move on to our next question, and it's regarding business climate and regulation. 45 seconds, your answer. What state or local policies would you support to reduce barriers for small businesses, encourage responsible investment, and help employers attract and retain workers? Catherine Lopez-Rajanimi.
It's a long question.
It is.
But it's very important. Again, I'm a small business owner. My husband and I both are. I did hand out my resume earlier. I really wish you guys, if you haven't received it, would get it. You would understand that I've been working since I was 17 years old. The one thing we have to have with small businesses is getting businesses here. Our local chamber of commerces are important. I've sat on that board for 10 years. Attracting businesses, bring money, right? You get taxpayers' money. When they come here, growth brings money. That is all, and having local control. I know the tri-state mayors, they meet together, the tri-state city mayors meet together, and that's the one thing they want, is to have local control and work with our government, work with the state government. Thank you.
Okay. Caroline Strecker.
So Arizona is primarily known for several industries. We have agriculture, of course we have healthcare, we have the microchip industry that's coming into the Phoenix and the major metropolitan areas, tourism, of course, Grand Canyon, Lake Havasu. So we really need to cut the red tape, and what do I mean by that is incentivizing small businesses, and assisting them with the Small Business Administration and giving them the opportunity to come into our areas and to really stimulate the growth so that we can retain and promote job opportunities.
David Rose.
Number one, government needs to stay out of local businesses and let them run their business, so cut back regulations and stop government overreach, number one. Number two is, as a state legislator, I would work with our local municipalities on attracting new businesses. If we want growth the right way, then you have to have the right businesses that are in your area. And so attracting those businesses that fit the needs, and not every business, a business that comes to Lake Havasu may not want to go to Kingman, and the community may not want them here. So it comes down to, what do the people want? And what type of businesses they want? Their voice needs to be heard. So I think those conversations and those relationships are important.
Okay. Grace Hecht.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. What state or local policies would you support to reduce barriers for small businesses, encourage responsible investment, and help employers attract and retain workers?
Thank you. So, state and local policies, from being on city council, we need people that will come in and invest. I'm a graduate of Mojave College, and I met with the CEO of Valley View Hospital in Fort Mojave, and they are doing a wonderful program. They went from having 14 traveling nurses to having 3, because they're doing an externship with Mojave College where they're taking nursing students and they're putting them to work in the hospital and paying them. We need more projects like that. We need tax cuts for businesses that will take people from Mojave College, where Mojave College is local and they're listening to the needs that we have of our community and putting them to work here locally. I think that would be a huge benefit, and using what we already have in our own backyard.
Mike Ganusio. Definitely not enough time to get this out. So, I spent my first year, I got $22 million out of state budget to push for vets to come because we don't have any. We needed more. The money went to lower their tuition costs, all that. It was to cut the red tape to get small businesses started. I will continue to fight to make the small business cuts on the red tape so they can start up. And I will continue to fight things that don't make jobs like solar fields in state or BLM lands so that we can keep building our industry up that actually makes our communities money. Oh, sorry, I thought I was out of time. Anyway, we need more money, more jobs in our communities and less red tape. That's what I'm about, and that's what I will fight for.
Last question. I think we're on Caroline's record. Education and workforce. How would you support rural public school districts that face higher operating costs, staffing challenges, and funding pressures outside of Metro Phoenix and Tucson?
Well, this kind of ties into, I think it's really about parents' choice, and I think if anything that we learned from the COVID era is that we have a lot of options. We have homeschooling options, we have charter school options, we have public school options, and it's really up to the parents, and it's not up to the government to tell you how to raise your children. So as far as supporting from the state legislative level, it's really just about empowering the parents to make choices for their family, for their children, and giving them the opportunities. And if they want to pull their children out of public schools, that's their choice.
Okay, David Rose.
So I'm already doing that. Our school district has become the example of what can happen when you put kids first and balance your budget and invest in the right areas. So we took the $26 million that we found, we invested it back into the classroom, we invested it into teachers, and now our teachers went from a $30,000 starting pay to a $55,000 starting pay with their package. And that's what it's about, is school districts are getting money. It's how are they spending it? Are they being held accountable? One of the first bills I'm going to drop is called the School Board Accountability Act, because school boards are not properly spending money. They're wasting it, and it's hurting our students and our teachers. Thank you.
Grace Knapp.
I think schools in our local areas have maybe too much admin. There are a couple of schools that I went to in La Paz, one that's in Salome, one that's in Winton. They're very close together, within 5 miles. But the state gives these little small schools so the state gives them a certain
Which mic?
I think you're a little too close to the monitor, so
Oh.
step back.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Oh, that's much less bright as well. Okay, so the state, I hope I can have a couple more seconds. The state, thank you. The state gives money to these small schools that are so close to each other, and they would merge, but if they go over 100 students, then they don't get that large allocation. And there are things like that that are happening in these rural areas where it could be fixed at the state level if we gave them a way out. It keeps communities down, so they are not allowed to grow because they can't afford to pay the teachers. Also, we need to invest in American teachers. In Mojave County and La Paz County, over 50% of our teachers, a little less than 50%, are foreign-born teachers. I took 90 students to the state capitol last month, and their history teacher was from the Philippines. We need American teachers in the classroom.
Before we move on to the next person, please make sure we are using one mic per table. I cannot see when you guys switch mics around, and that's when stuff like that happens. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Can you repeat the question, please? We didn't switch mics.
Education and workforce. What would you do to support rural schools that face higher costs, staffing challenges, and funding pressures outside of Phoenix and Tucson?
You know, I'd really like to see a whole lot less admin. You know, you look at the Indians versus the Chiefs, we have so many different school districts, and it's going to make a lot of people upset, probably what I have to say, but we have way too many. You know, we need countywide, we don't need citywide. That way we can take some of the upper brass pay and put it into the teachers and into the classroom. We also need to continue to empower our kids' parents to let them go to the school choices that they want. We don't have to force them into a classroom setting. If somebody wants to homeschool, give them the money that the schools would give the kids for the homeschool so they can have all of the tools of the trade to get it done. And if they want to take 1 or 2 classes at the school, let them go. But give the parents the power and take the power from the school districts.
Captain Lopez, Resident.
You want this mic or that one?
I want to get in trouble. Can you please repeat it one more time? I'm sorry.
How would you support rural schools that face higher costs, staffing challenges, and funding pressures outside of Phoenix and Tucson?
Oh gosh, that's you know, staffing is so huge. So my husband and I, we were honored to be co-founders of a school called the Academy of Building Industries, and it's been there for over 20 years. Education is very important to us, and that school, the kids leave learning a skill. We've gotten away from skills. I believe in funding schools, not the administration side. Academy of Building Industries runs on a very little staff. Most of their money goes back to the schools. They apply for grants, which help them. We have a brand new auto mechanic shop, so the kids can leave there certified in welding. So giving them an auto mechanic, so giving them a skill that they can use for the rest of their lives is so important. So again, thank you.
So that concludes the questions for our legislative president? Yes. Yes, we start with Harold. I wanted to throw in something from Leo Biasucci. He texted me and he wanted a random question from the current state representative to the House candidates. What is the one and only constitutional duty of the Arizona legislature? Anybody?
To pass the budget.
That's exactly what he said. Correct answer: to pass a state budget each year. And with that, and thank you so much for participating, Leo. I'll throw it over to Andrea.
Thank you so much to our LD30 candidates. Can we give them one more round of applause for all their time? They will be headed back up to the hallway up front. Before I excuse you, I just want to give some election reminders. Before we close again, a few election reminders. June 22nd is the last day to register to vote in the primaries if you have not done that. June 24th, early voting begins. July 10th is the last day to request a mail ballot to be sent. July 14th is the last day to mail your ballots in. July 17th, in-person early voting ends. And July 21st, polling locations open at 6 a.m. and close at 7 p.m. Just as a reminder, we will be hosting a second forum later on this year, just before the general election. That is slated for September 16th. So make sure you put that on your schedule. And the general election, as usual, is in November. Thank you to today's News-Herald for the Voter's Guide. Please make sure you take your issue home tonight and spend some time getting informed on your candidates. Thank you again for joining us this evening, and to our candidates for putting in your time. Don't forget to stop by and say hi to the candidates on your way out if you haven't had a chance to meet them. Thank you all and good night.